to the victim of his crime, once there is sufficient evidence that the commission of the crime caused the victim to suffer loss. Such restitution, Mr. Speaker, may mean that the convicted person returns property to the victim, pay for the cost of the property, return money with interest, pay for medical bills, lost income, attorney's fees, etc. This restitution, Mr. Speaker, may be enforced by the victim or the prosecution on behalf of the victim. Clause 4, Mr. Speaker, amends Section 5 of the Gun Court Act to allow for the joinder of offences under that Act with other offences, as long as those other offences are triable by jury. Mr. Speaker, this ends the clause-by-clause summary of the bills before you. Shortly, Mr. Speaker, I will commend the bills to other members of the House, which after the suspension today, next week or the week after, we hope that they will be able to make their contributions. But, Mr. Speaker, improvements to the justice system is absolutely necessary. The justice system for criminal trials and civil cases is overburdened and clogged. Mr. Speaker, blame can be passed all around. It may be the judges, it may be the prosecution, it may be the defense lawyer, but the government must accept most of the blame, Mr. Speaker, for not providing the resources to have more courts, more judges, more personnel, so that cases can be tried in a timely manner. But in truth, Mr. Speaker, even if we provide all the judges, all the prosecutors, all the defense counsel, all the facilities, the number of cases we have in the courts will not be tried for the next 5 or 10 years. Mr. Speaker, there are over 2,000 cases to be tried this term alone in the circuit courts. In the home circuit, you have 700 and odd cases, Mr. Speaker. And with the best will in the world, if you were to try every single one of them in 10 courts, we would not finish them for the next 2 or 3 years. And more cases are coming on daily and weekly. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, the bill which was passed in this House and shortly to become law when the Governor General signs off the plea bargaining bill, the arbitration bill, and also mediation, which will be adjusted, litigants, prosecutors, defense counsel, lawyers will have to look at alternative means of settling disputes in our country. Mr. Speaker, it is natural, not abnormal, for there to be conflicts. No two people alike. When you look at the member from Central Westmoreland, very different from me, or Eastern Westmoreland. Eastern. Every time I look at him, I see a difficulty, a conflict. Yeah. and I know, and tomorrow, and I'm drunk and you're ugly. Tomorrow I will be sober. Good one, Mr. Speaker. Shut up. Mr. Speaker, the message must go out to every corner of this country. Yes. We have to find ways and means to settle our differences. Conflicts, problems must be settled in an amicable way, without violence, without having to end up in courts, Mr. Speaker. Because when you go to court, they're not going to be settled for years. So we're appealing to litigants to please try and settle your differences. And if they have to come to court, let us use, which I will be on later on, the plea bargaining bill, mediation, arbitration, to get matters dealt with in an expeditious way. These bills, Mr. Speaker, are just a small part and will play a small part in unclogging the system, but the bigger unclogging of the system must be dealt with by other legislation. Which, having said those, Mr. Speaker, I now commend these bills to the members of the House for approval.
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for the suspension on both bills for a further date. Why can't we do it next week?
Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, the private member's motion number 2 and number 12 by the member from Central Kingston is not here, so we'll do it at a further date, future date. He's not present, so we'll take it at future date. Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of standing orders to enable me to take the motion the Special Select Committee approved by the Law Reform Zone of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017. Notes which I gave earlier. Note one by one.
Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
I ask that the motion be approved.
Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, further move for the suspension of standing order to enable him to take the motion, the Judiciary Salaries Order 2017, notice of which I gave earlier.
Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the motion be approved.
Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, is not intended to do any further business for the day, so I ask that the House be adjourned. Why don't you shut your crap? Sit down and shut up.
Mr. Speaker, look at the crime. Look at where we are.
In anyhow, Mr. Speaker, I do understand, you know. Mr. Speaker, I do understand. Empty barrels make the most noise. I do understand, Mr. Speaker. Empty barrels make the most noise. I ask that the House be adjourned until next week, Tuesday, when the House will take a motion to honor the former Prime Minister, the most honorable person since Miller.
Those in favor? Those in favor? Yeah, but I will take the motion. Yeah. The motion is that the House be adjourned until next Tuesday, June 27. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. This House now stands adjourned.
We stay here. Stay here. We stay here and you guys.
One morning, when the police are just doing traffic duties and keeping the peace, and they don't have to worry about even their own security. Take responsibility for yourself and your surroundings and for your neighbors. Be your neighbor's keeper. Be your brother's keeper. Let's come together and create a safer and prosperous Jamaica.
A message from the Ministry of National Security. My name is Go Williams. I'm in the construction